Well, hello everyone. Welcome to From the Woods Today. I'm Renee Williams and I'm here with my co-host Billy Thomas, and we have a really great show lined up for you today.
Hey, thanks, Renee. I'm so glad to be with you again today. It is June 10th, and we've got a really good show. We have Dr. Jacob Muller is going to be on with us. Jacob is our newest Extension Forestry professor in the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, and he's started this series on Forestry 101, some of the basics of forestry, and today is the first segment in that, and we'll also have Jacob on as well. And we'll be doing a tree of the week. It's the common serviceberry, which is a beautiful tree beloved by birds across Kentucky and throughout its range. And Laurie Thomas will be on talking about that. We'll also have Laurie talking about a new 4-H Nature Notes opportunity that's available for 4-H here in Kentucky. And then we'll have Dr. Ellen Crocker on after that. And Ellen will be talking about a Healthy Woods app that she has been working on for a while, but it's really all about how to make our woods healthy. And we'll have Ellen talking about that. So Renee, I'm really excited about today's show. We've got a great team of segments coming up, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a great show today to watch. So I hope you all stay tuned. And I guess, Billy, without further ado, we will have Jacob run his video.
Hi, my name is Jacob Muller, and I'm an Assistant Extension Professor here in Forestry and Natural Resources Extension at the University of Kentucky. And so we're going to be starting a new 7-part series over the upcoming weeks called Forestry 101. And so this is essentially just an introduction to forestry, why we manage forests, the terminology that we use when speaking to foresters, actually talking about management plans for our own forest and woodlands, and developing a silvicultural prescription for managing our forests, and then kind of tying it all together with thinking about future considerations for long-term sustainable management of these natural resources. And so today we're going to be talking and introducing forestry and forest management by answering kind of a simple question, but not really so simple. Why do we manage our forests? Why do we actively manage our forests? And when we talk about active management, we're talking about going in and actively managing the forest for a specific reason, for a specific objective. Sometimes those are timber related, improving the quality of the timber. Timber stand improvement is a common treatment. And in fact, we're out here in Berea College Forest at the site of a recent TSI, Timber Stand Improvement project, where they went through and prescribed burns a lot of the competing vegetation and invasive plants to free up growing space for the desirable species and regeneration. So we have a lot of oak regeneration here in the understory of the forest. We also manage forests for non-timber reasons. We manage forests for water quality, for recreational opportunities, for wildlife habitat, and really just a general natural aesthetic of the forest. You might hear the birds chirping here in the background. A healthy forest often maintains a healthy population of wildlife, which is a desirable characteristic for many forest and woodland owners. And so actively managing our forests is an important component of maintaining a healthy forest. And so active management is really engaging in thinking about the health of the forest, and then managing for our specific objectives and creating a long-term sustainable resource. And so I'm often asked, why not just let nature take its course? And we call this passive management. And passive management is the lack of human interaction or management with that forest. And I often reply, why don't we passively manage our forests, or why shouldn't we rather? Is because humans have engaged with the forest for hundreds of years, particularly here in the eastern United States. And when we've engaged with that, it always hasn't been for the better, for the overall forest health of the forest. We've often high-graded timber from these forests. When we talk about high grading, we're talking about cutting out the best, highest quality trees and only leaving behind less desirable species and less desirable trees. And those ones that are left in the forest are the ones that are regenerating and repopulating the forest. And so we're left with a degraded genetic pool in the forest. Another reason that we actively manage our forests is because we're seeing a lot more invasive plants and insects and disease in these forests that are killing individual trees and entire stands of forest. And so when we're talking about active management for invasive plants, oftentimes we're talking about going in and mechanically treating those invasive plants by killing individual trees, and another option is using chemicals or chemical application with the use of herbicide to kill a lot of those invasive plants, thus freeing up room for our regenerating desirable species. Although Kentucky is heavily forested and natural regeneration is the preferred method for forest regeneration here in the region, sometimes it's necessary to plant to species. Oftentimes we do this because we're lacking our desired species in this particular forest or in a particular forest. We're trying to establish afforestation of cropland that had previously been forest, and now we're returning that or afforesting it back to forested land. And so oftentimes we'll plant. And so planting approaches and management of seedlings as they develop and controlling those species or those seedlings and controlling them from invasive and competing vegetation is all part of an active management plan for your forest or future forest. And so all these things combined are reasons why it's important and why we manage our forests. So to kind of recap, we manage our forests because our forests are currently, for the most part, functioning outside their natural function or natural range of variability. And that range of variability is how they respond and interact with different disturbances. And different disturbances in this region often include fire, insects and diseases, and as well as invasive plants. That is a disturbance that affects the forest and how a healthy forest may function. And so responding to those disturbances and responding to our past management efforts are really why we need to actively manage our forests. For forest health, for water, for recreation, for wildlife habitat, and really just to enjoy this natural aesthetic or return the forest to this natural aesthetic that it might be currently lacking. And so over the course of the upcoming weeks, we're going to talk about and really drive home this this idea that we need to actively manage our forests for forest health. But I hope that you'll join me in the upcoming weeks. I look forward to interacting and engaging with all of you as we go on this adventure together. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you in the weeks to come. All right, thanks. Bye.
That was a great video. We really appreciate Jacob being on here. And just to let you know that he is live on with us too. He can pop his video on. There he is. And if you all have any questions whatsoever, please put them in the chat pod and we'll get him to answer those. But first of all, we just thank you very much, Jacob, for running this video.
Yeah, definitely.
Good and very educational. We appreciate that.
Yeah, it was fun to make.
Hey, high production values, Jacob. I didn't know you were only a professor, but you're also a video producer too. So great work on that, man.
I know, learning on the fly.
Yeah. You know, Jacob, one of the things you talked about there, and I think is so important, is about the need for active management. I know that when I went through forestry school, we learned about this thing called benign neglect, you know, just kind of letting the forest go. But as you indicated now, that's really not a good option any longer, just to let our forest go. Too many threats are really facing.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, is we have birds of the land, and so it's kind of up to us to bring back these forests to a healthy state, and while still utilizing all these natural resources.
Well, I know as we explore the rest of this series, and we're going to get into how landowners can actually connect with some of the professionals that are out there as well. And I think I've said this before. I think a lot of our landowners here in Kentucky, especially our woodland owners, are really unaware of all the assistance that's available to them. So I'm looking forward to you getting them excited about managing their forests, and then getting them connected with some professionals out there who can come out and really help them do stuff on their own individual properties. So yeah,
Definitely.
It looks like we don't have any questions, so he covered everything everyone needed to know. So good for you.
They're still probably eating the popcorn from watching that great video. You know?
Exactly,
so,
probably. You're right.
No, seriously, Jacob, thank you very much for that. We really appreciate your efforts in that, and look forward to the rest of the series as the show rolls on.
Yep. Yeah, and thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget, folks, we will be having him on once a month. So make sure you tune in, and we will keep you updated as to when those will be. And so you'll know when you can catch the rest of the series.
All right, so Renee, I think I'm going to keep the show rolling, and we're going to do the Tree of the Week now.
Definitely.
And then we'll have Laurie Thomas is going to be, she's put together a video segment for that. And then we'll have her on talking about the Kentucky 4-H Nature Nodes opportunity that's available. So I'll go ahead and pause or mute my mic and stop my video, and then pull up Laurie's.
Hi, I'm Laurie Thomas with the University of Kentucky Department of Forestry and Natural Resources, and I'm here with the Tree of the Week, the common serviceberry. Common serviceberry, Amelanchier arborea, is a small deciduous tree of the rose family. The woodland tree is one of the first to flower in early spring, beaten only by witch hazel. These early flowers are important for pollinators, and since it blooms so early in the spring, it's especially showy because most other plants are bare. Other common names include downy serviceberry, juneberry, shadbush, and sarvice tree. Common serviceberry is the largest of the serviceberries native to Kentucky. It grows between 10 and 40 feet tall. It is a common small understory tree of our forest. It is native to the Midwestern and Eastern United States and grows on a variety of sites in moist, well-drained soils. Common serviceberry prefers partial shade but also does well in full sunlight. Common serviceberry flowers are fragrant and bloom in very early spring. They are perfect, meaning they have both male and female reproductive structures. They are showy with 5 strap-like white petals. The flowers occur in drooping bunches, and the flowers are pollinated by bees, beetles, and other insects. The leaves are deciduous and alternately arranged on the twig, as you can see in the photo. The leaf form is simple, meaning there is only one blade. The oval or egg-shaped leaves are about 1.5 to 3 inches long. They are pinnately veined, meaning there is a dominant center vein or midrib with other veins branching off from the middle towards the edge of the leaf. The leaf margins are finely serrated, and the leaves are somewhat downy on the underside, especially when young. The fall color is eye-catching and ranges from gold to orange to red to purple, just another reason this tree is quite commonly used in landscape plantings. The fruit is a berry-like palm. A palm is a fleshy fruit, such as an apple or a pear, that has an outer thickened fleshy layer and a central core with seeds enclosed in a capsule. The fruit ripens to deep red or to purple. It typically ripens in late spring to early summer, which is where it gets one of its common names from, the Juneberry. The fruit is edible, and the seeds are dispersed by wildlife. Common serviceberry is a wildlife favorite, with more than 40 species of birds consuming the fruit, including the cedar waxwing, as you can see in the photo that's feasting on serviceberries. The eastern towhee and the Baltimore oriole also big fans of serviceberry fruit. Almost as many mammals eat the fruit, including chipmunks, fox, black bear, and elk. The bark is smooth and ashy gray when the tree is young, occasionally with darker stripes. As the tree grows, the bark becomes rough with long vertical splits. The wood of the serviceberry is among the heaviest in the U.S. and would be more valuable if the trees grew larger. Where it does grow large enough, it is used for pulpwood. The wood has been used for tool handles and decorative wood objects. Serviceberries have long been used to make jams and pies. Many say they taste like a mashup of blueberries and strawberries, while others claim more of a mix of blueberries and cherries. If you get a chance to taste a serviceberry, you can decide for yourself. Well, that's if you can get to them before the birds. The national champion common serviceberry is in Pocahontas, West Virginia. It's 102 inches in circumference, 40 feet tall, with a 56-foot crown spread. That is a beautiful tree. Kentucky's champion common serviceberry is in McCreary County. It's 62 inches in circumference, 56 feet tall, with a 35-foot crown spread. If you'd like to know more about champion trees, go to the American Forest Champion Tree National Register or to the Kentucky Division of Forestry Champion Trees. Now for a few fun facts about serviceberry. Serviceberry was named for its ability to bloom as soon as the ground thawed, so burials and funeral services could be held for those who had passed away during the winter. The name shadbush, another common name for this tree, is derived from folklore correlating the flowering of the tree species with the running of the shad in the rivers. Native Americans used the heavy wood to make arrow shafts and bow staves. I hope you've enjoyed learning a little bit about the common serviceberry, truly a tree for all seasons. I hope you get an opportunity to get out in your woodland, local park, or neighborhood and enjoy the splendors of the serviceberry.
Looks like we need to do another episode on jelly
I
with a different
know.
tree.
I know. Fortunately, we can maybe ask Laurie that. She's going to be on in a second. Really appreciate these Tree of the Week segments. Laurie, I know you're getting on right now. It has been a big hit on the show. We get a lot of good comments on it. So we really appreciate you kind of highlighting the diversity of Kentucky's trees. You're doing a great job with that. But you got something else to talk about today as well.
Yeah, you're right. I do. Thank you. And yes, I love doing the Tree of the Week. And I hope you're enjoying them. I think it's just a lot of fun. It's like I'm reviewing everything I learned when I was in school in forestry. And as far as the serviceberry jelly or jams go right now, this wasn't a great year for serviceberry berries because we had some of those late frosts. So there's not a lot of berries out, and what's left, the birds have gotten most of them. When I was out looking for trees with berries, I didn't find many. So and maybe next year will be a good year. But yeah, I have another an opportunity that I wanted to mention, and I think Billy's going to bring up I have a short slide, and this is the 4-H nature notes from Kentucky that the 4-H program in conjunction with the University of Kentucky's Department of Forestry and Natural Resources and Entomology is doing this little opportunity or activity for our 4-H youth ages 9 to 18. You don't have to be in 4-H, but you need to be amongst those ages to kind of keep the youth involved with and connected to and observing nature throughout the summer. So we have an activity for them to do, which we've called Kentucky 4-H Nature Notes. Participating super easy. All you want to do is, number one, go outside. Number 2, observe nature using 4-H Nature Notes guide page, which is at the link that we'll have the link up on our From the Woods today, and also at the 4-H Natural Resources website as well, so that you can get the guide pages. So we've got guided questions and an opportunity for students to throw in a little bit of creativity in these guide pages. But so you're going to report your observations during June and July using one of these options with your parent or guardian's permission. The youth would want to do it through their 4-H Nature Guide page to complete an online form, which is available at this URL. And this, like I said, this file you'll be able to access at our site or at the 4-H Natural Resources site. Or the youth can email their guide pages to Ashley Osborne at our 4-H state office. So I hope that it gives youth that opportunity to get out, stay connected with nature, use their observational skills, and just enjoy being outside this summer. So it's just a fun activity, kind of a little bit like nature journaling, which is a lot of fun.
Right. Well, Lori, if you don't mind, we do have a couple of questions for you about your tree. So when do service berries ripen?
Okay, service berries will, depending on the season, but in general, they're ripe right here in the early part of June. Some, depending on where we're at, could be a little later in June, but anywhere from late May to mid-early June is when those berries will ripen, and they go fast. I mean, you'll see the berries, they develop shortly after the flowers have been pollinated, but they'll be green, and then they slowly start ripening. And this year what happened is we got some frost before they were just starting to turn red, and a lot of them just dropped off. But yeah, so if you know where you've got one at, keep an eye on it, and so maybe you can get some of the berries, because they are really hard to get the berries before the birds do.
So you be in competition with the birds, basically, is what you're saying.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And
so how fast does the tree grow? I've got another question there.
It's a relatively fast growing tree. It tends to be multi-stemmed. I know we saw with that national champion that that was a main stem. We had just the one main trunk. A lot of times it's multi-stem tree, pretty fast growing. It's not a terribly long-lived species. It's used a lot in landscape plantings because it is a quick grower. It is attractive, doesn't get real tall. It's great if you're looking to plant underneath power lines or things like that, because it doesn't get real tall. But it's a relatively fast growing, not super long-lived species.
And one more question, is there a champion tree trail like the Bourbon Trail? If not, that's a good idea.
That there isn't, and that is a good idea. But you can find a lot of our champion trees, at least in Kentucky, are on private property. So they're not, unless those landowners had opened up their property, you wouldn't be able to go see them. But if you do go to the Kentucky Division of Forestry's champion tree site, they'll list all the state ones, and you can find the ones that are on public property. And a lot of those tend to be like in the Daniel Boone National Forest. I know at McConnell Springs Park here in Lexington, we have 2 champion trees. You'd never guess it because they're sumacs, they're not real big, but there were 2 champion trees there. So people can actually go out and see those. So you could find the ones on public property and then maybe go out and visit a few of those.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Lori. We appreciate you doing the Tree of the Week, as always, and also the Kentucky 4-H Nature Notes. We really appreciate you letting people know about that as well.
Excellent. Great. Thank you.
Another good segment. And we've got one more segment today. We've got Dr. Ellen Crocker is going to be joining us. Dr. Ellen Crocker is our Forest Health Extension Professor here in the Department of Forestry and Natural Resources Extension. Hey, Ellen, how are you?
Hey, Ellen. Doing well. Thanks for having me on today.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you. You've been working on this project for a little while, and you've got something you want to kind of share with our audience about healthy woods.
I do. So some of you all might know about a previous app that myself and some colleagues had developed called TreeSnap. So if you use TreeSnap or anything like that, it's a citizen science app. But today I'm going to tell you about a new project we've been working on, and that's the Healthy Woods app. So that's an app a little bit different, because in this case, our whole goal is to teach people a little bit about the health of their woods and connect them to resources that then they can engage with to actually do some of that management. So in that presentation from Jacob Mueller, you were hearing about, the importance of managing for forest health. We do have a lot of threats out there, but I think for a lot of landowners, it can just be challenging to know, you know, what's going on in your woods. What are the potential problems? So we've got an app for that, and we really want your help testing it, which is why I'm here today. So I'm hoping to recruit a couple app testers. Right now, it's still kind of in an early testing mode, but if this sounds interesting to you, I want you to let me know and give us some feedback on that so we can make it even more useful to landowners. So a little bit of background on this. First off, woodland owners really care about the health of their woods. So I think this is cool. This is a figure from a survey of the Kentucky Woodland Owners short courses that Billy Thomas put together. And here you can see when asked about their future programming interests and opportunities, woodland health is right at the top, which of course warms my heart. But more than that, I think it really reflects how important woodland health is to all of you. Whether you're interested in timber, whether you're interested in recreation or wildlife, it really connects to a lot of different goals. And the same thing's true for, you know, our 2019 Kentucky Extension Community Assessment. If you look at, you know, what got highlighted there, definitely tree and forest management, pests, diseases, and weed issues, all of which connect to forest health. So how can you tell if your woods is healthy? Well, that's the big question, right? Because every woodland is different, different areas are going to be different, and it's really going to be context dependent. So, you know, what's healthy for a woodland that was recently harvested, or maybe harvested a few years back, is going to look really different than what's healthy for a woodland that has large trees, maybe that's an older woodland. Similarly, if you're managing for timber, your definition of health and kind of what you're most interested in might be different than if what you really want is wildlife. So these are all things to be thinking about. And there are some common problems for, you know, Kentucky woodlands. One of those is high mortality of trees in some areas. So one of these pictures here you can see is an ash tree that's been killed by the emerald ash borer. There are lots of different things that can kill trees, and it's totally normal to have some dead trees in your woods. It's hard to find some woods that don't have them. But if you've got a high proportion of dead trees, to me that's kind of a red flag that there's maybe something going on, either an invasive insect or disease, or maybe some history of land use there that's really impacting the health of those trees. There are lots of other kind of problems that will pop up, and if it's just occasional, it's not a big deal. So here in these photos, I've got a tree that tipped over, definitely had some root rot issues. I've got mushrooms, those fungal fruiting bodies coming out of the tree. And then on that tree on the right, you can see that scar at the base. That's a sign of some previous fire in that woodland that would have damaged the tree. Now, you know, these might pop up from time to time and not be a big deal, but if you're seeing really widespread problems, that can be a sign of concern. Similarly, you know, Jacob mentioned, wow, abundant invasives. We sure have them in Kentucky. We have invasive plants. So this is winter creeper right here. We've also got invasive insects. And, you know, just something that if you don't do any management, they can quickly impact what you're trying to do and derail some of your plans. So this is kind of where the idea for our Healthy Woods app, a new app to help you assess the health of your woods. And this is from our website. The whole goal of this is for it to be an educational tool to teach landowners, whether they're new or new to thinking about their woods, about their health, and then to connect them to next step management resources. So myself, Jeff Stringer, as well as Meg Staton and Abdullah Saeed at University of Tennessee are kind of leading this. But the best part is we're working with this fantastic team of forestry extension specialists from around the country, all of us working together to try to think about what is most important for landowners to know about the health of their woods, and how can we get them the resources they need. And this is also Megan Bueland, who some of you know, who's been working with me on this as well. So let me give you a little sneak peek into the app. So if you open the app up, you can do a new assessment. So you kind of pick what type of woodland do you have? Is it freshly harvested? Is it bigger trees? And then it will walk you through a series of questions to kind of see, based on that, what are the biggest concerns for you? And this will all work towards generating a report that then you can share with other people. So here you can see I asked a question about canopy gaps that might indicate some dead trees. And you can see the photos, there's help available. You can take photos of what you're seeing. And all of these will feed into a report that then you can share with foresters or extension professionals to get more help. So it covers a really wide range of different things. Here it's talking about dieback. And if you don't know what that is, we try to put in some educational photos to teach you a little bit about it, know what to look for. As I mentioned, it's totally normal to see some dead trees, but if you're seeing a lot of them, it could be a problem. The same with these potential issues that might pop up in your woods. And so our whole goal with this is, yes, it's going to walk you through how to assess the health of your woodland, but it's also a really great educational tool to start teaching people about woodland health, what matters, why it matters, and what are the biggest issues for them. So here you can see again, looking for those invasives, what's out there, and how big of an impact is it having? Because I think it can be really tough to know whether or not you've got invasives. And then if you do, kind of how big of a problem are they? Because a little bit you might be able to manage and get on top of. So here, once you've kind of completed that survey, and I've cut it down for you all, but you can get an assessment that's a customized report based on what you said about your stand. So a yellow rating means that, there's a kind of red flag there that you might look at. It's not it could be okay, but we're kind of looking at more. And then we go through each of the questions and give you a little bit of feedback on what they mean and how they might be impacting your management long-term. So we want your help. And here's how you can do that. So first, download the app. You can find it for free for Apple or Android devices, iPhones or Androids, just by searching for Healthy Woods. And when you've done that, test it out and send us your feedback. So send me an email at e.crocker@uky.edu. And we also have a survey that you can fill out. I'll probably send you a link to it. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes, but just to see what worked, what didn't, and how can we make it better. And then if you're interested in learning more about woodland health in general, and this app in particular, please join me for a live webinar and training Friday, June 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And I'll send out more information about this. If you haven't already, check out our Facebook page at KY Forest Health. You'll find more information about that training and other things that come up. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing and see if there are any questions. I put the wrong date, July 10th, not June 10th. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. July 10th.
Yeah, so yeah, shoot Ellen an email.
Yeah. Wow, Friday.
Yeah. No, right now. No. Yeah.
Awesome. So Ellen, man, you've all been working on this for a while, and it's really, I've been seeing little sneak peeks behind the scenes a little bit, but to see what you all put together and to have it ready for testing is really an exciting stage in the development of this. And I am so excited about the opportunity for it to help engage landowners with professionals as well, because then these professionals will have some kind of assessment of what's going on before they hit the ground. So they're kind of thinking about what they're looking for. So I see great opportunities with this, and I can't thank you and the team enough for putting this effort into this great project. So thank you very much.
Definitely, and I think exactly what you said, Billy, and that there are all of these great resources out there to help landowners, but it can be really overwhelming to know where to start and what issues might be most important from a health perspective. So that's what we try to do, is we try to, what are the most critical issues, whether, you've got something that's freshly harvested or if it's kind of much further along, what are the most critical issues to be thinking about? And then giving you this report that you can share with any kind of forestry professional to follow up on that and say, oh, I saw all of these invasive vines in my woods, and here's a picture of them. What can we do about that? And what are the next steps in that? So just trying to make it even easier to get in touch with those resources that are available.
I was going to say, Ellen, is there a window for this beta testing? Maybe you mentioned it. How long are y'all going to keep this kind of testing open and going?
Well, it's the app is available right now on the App Store, but we're still waiting to share it really broadly until we've tested it a little bit with some different groups. Now, we have tested it in many different states. So the specialists that I mentioned that I'm working with, they cover everywhere from New York down to South Carolina and Georgia and everywhere in between. So all of us kind of trying to see what works and what doesn't. But what we really want to do is get some landowners on board to help us know whether or not this is getting you information that's beneficial. So we'd really like to do that in the next month so that then in July we can really roll this out for the public and make it available for any kind of natural resource professional to use with the people that they're working with, to both kind of clue them into some of the common problems, but also to facilitate that communication about, you know, their woodlands and what's going on.
I was so excited. Some of those pictures are like pictures that I've received over the years, you know, that people see in the woods. So it's going to be really, like you said, very educational as well. So even if they don't share that report with anybody, they can get a lot of great information out of it. So I'll encourage all of our From the Woods Today viewers out there to download the app and participate in that. And if you're on Facebook Live, we encourage you as well to please download that app. Test it out. We want to make it better and we want to use it widespread. So Ellen, great work, really great work.
Yeah, hope to hear from you all. Really look forward to it and want to make this a tool that's really beneficial for folks. So I appreciate all of your attention and your time today.
Excellent.
I think that's one thing we really try to do in Extension is try to help people out. And this is just another avenue to end up getting that word out and helping them out with their woodlands.
Yeah.
So Billy, I think we're done.
We've done it again. Another From the Woods Today. Thank you again, folks. We really appreciate y'all being with us. We'll encourage you all next week. We've got a really, I think, another great show. We're going to be having Eric Gracie on. Eric is one of our extension foresters here on our team. He worked for the Center for Forest and Wood Certification, and he's going to be talking about heating with wood and some of the considerations. I know it's the middle of summer almost, but we really need to be thinking about getting that firewood ready and how we're going to be using that later this year. And then we'll also have Matt Springer on with a snake ID, and this will be one you really want to make sure you don't miss. This snake ID coming up next week. It's a really important one. Yeah. And then we'll have Laurie Thomas on with another Tree of the Week. So we look forward to having you all back with us next Wednesday at 11 o'clock on FromTheWoodsToday.com. And just a general reminder, Renee, we do have that survey up that people, if they want to give us feedback. So
we do, yeah. So you can always go to FromTheWoodsToday.com and if you want to give us feedback on the show, or if there's a question that you have, or just something in your woods that you don't quite understand, you can take a picture of it and send it to us using that survey link. I want to remind you too, if you are an extension agent or if you work at extension agent and need some CEUs, we do offer a time after this. Also that Society of American Foresters, you will get 0.5 credit per session for watching the shows. And so that's just another thing that we've added to kind of help everybody out during this time.
No doubt. Yeah. So come on and join us and let others know about the show. Really, we want to spread the word and we want everybody caring about our woods as much as you all do. So again, thank you all for being with us and continue to support the show. And Renee, all the work that you do behind the scenes to make this thing come across smooth and the web presence, I can't thank you enough. So.
I greatly appreciate that, Billy. And I appreciate you being my co-host because that really helps me out. Don't forget to, if you watch us on Facebook, make sure to like us, make sure to follow us, because if you follow us, then you'll know when our sessions are coming up. It'll pop up on your screen that says, hey, they're live. So make sure you do that so that you always get any information. We post a lot of information other than just the show. So again, join us next week on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And until then, we'll see you soon.
Thanks, and get out and enjoy your woods.